Absolute Power issue 1, Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. We have our big event of the summer, and it was a pretty good first issue, I thought.
Yeah,
I had a good
yeah,
time.
yeah. It's crazy because I talked about the state of this country earlier, and it's a little bit weird that the week that this came out, there was some troubling news that broke here in the States to do with our Supreme Court in what looks like setting the stages for a type of power grab. So it was weird that this came out the day after some of those were announced. And like, I don't know if just Mark Waid's that masterful of a storyteller, or if that's just the state of the world, where you could just write about bleak things and it feels omnipresent just because, of it. But yeah.
I don't think it's masterful in the sense that he predicted exactly when something was going to happen, but I
Yeah.
do think that this story, even before any specifics about what's going on right now came out into the news, like, this isn't out of nowhere. Like, what's happening
Yeah.
is not a surprise, and I feel like Mark Waid's just writing about fears that people have. There's a reason why
Yeah.
this topic's going to work. This idea that Amanda Waller's trying to seize power, absolute power, one might say, with no. I mean, at one point in this issue, she even complains that superheroes they have absolute power. They go unchecked. They don't answer to anyone, and I'm like, Pitch, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to not answer to anyone. You think you're the top of the food chain.
And that's what we see here. There's a certain political side that they project that type of stuff, that everything they accuse others of doing, they're doing themselves. So again, I feel that that's way tapping into a cultural, moment.
Yeah, there's a hypocrisy
not
to
surprised. And yeah, but the way this ended, I found it oddly fitting, like the tone of the book matched the tone of the world. So yeah, that said, for as bleak as it gets, it looks really good. Dan Mora.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
John. Yeah.
Yeah, so the start of this book, and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of recognize this first page because they had previews in like every book for like 2 or 3 weeks there.
Yeah.
I never read it because I knew we were going to be doing the book anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it's these gunmen who have robbed a bank or whatever, and they're getting to a helicopter on a roof, and Superman shows up, and he's like, hey, I can hear the silent alarms. Like, I know this is happening. But the big surprise is that when they shoot at Superman, even though one of the guys is like, what are you doing? There's no point. It does hit Superman. The bullet goes right through him, and then he falls out the sky, and that's kind of our big tease. And then it cuts back in time, 28 hours, to sort of build up to that point and what's going on. And we get like a build up. And the main premise of the book so far, obviously it's about Amanda Waller seizing power, but the premise of this first issue, specifically the start of her plan, is basically to spread fake news. It's to use AI and deep fakes to convince the public that superheroes are attacking people and basically drum up fear that superheroes are becoming dangerous. And we see the results of that almost instantly when Animal Man and his daughter arrive back in Keystone City, and this angry mob just starts beating them up with baseball bats.
That was pretty dire. Like, that was rough.
He doesn't know why. They don't know what's happening here, but they're acting like they need to do it because they're scared of him. And quite quickly, we hear other reports of this. We hear about Black Lightning being attacked. We hear about other characters being attacked.
Yeah, all of Black Lightning's entire family was attacked. So, but yeah, and so that also fits into like what we'd seen in Beast World, right? How some of them, especially post Beast World, how they treated Gar when they went in to save the day. So it's Wade also playing off of in story continuity things. I mean, right? There's already this distrust that Waller's put in.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's Wade playing off of it, and I think that's just smart planning and the writing and editors as a team of like I think the themes of Beast World and how Beast Boy's story ended there and the aftermath of that naturally lends itself into this next part. It does feel connected where in maybe a way that I don't think the events have connected to each other since the 2000s, where it felt like Infinite Crisis City 52 into whatever like. There was kind of a through line where it felt like there was people making and sort of orchestrating the story in a much grander scale.
And what I love here doesn't feel nearly as overt as that. It just feels like this is what's going on in the DCU. And Waller's been ever since, what was that last one? The Infinite Crisis, whatever. Or no. What was the last one? There's too many.
Dark Crisis?
Dark Crisis. There we go. The Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes, Infinite Crisis was in 2005, Matt.
Yeah. I remember. Again, lack of sleep here. But ever since then, Waller's been doing this stuff underneath, and like we've seen her, pop in and out and doing certain things, but it hasn't been nearly as overt as this goes to this, this goes to this, this goes to this. And if you weren't following any of these, let's say you skip Beast World for whatever reason, and you jumped in here, everything still works on its own, right? All of the AI and deepfake and all that type of stuff is reason enough. But just as someone that reads almost everything, it's nice to see that through line.
No, yeah, there's a good through line just overall for DC. I assume you'd still be reading some of the other books, but if you're reading the events because you want to be up in what the main going ons are, they do link up quite well here, just thematically, where it feels like this is a fallout thing that leads naturally from the past event. So, all the heroes are like, what's going on here? Batman's trying to figure it out. Dick's like, yeah, they're showing footage of the Titans doing bad things, but we were elsewhere doing something else. Supergirl's in space, yet there's footage of her blasting someone with heat vision and so on and so on. So there's a lot of this. But one of the things it gets into quite quickly is we go to the Daily Planet, and like someone comes in and says, Lois, why aren't we running all these news stories like everyone else? And she's like, no, we're not running any of this shit. This is all, until we can corroborate that any of this is actually happening. And because Lois is with Clark and they know for a fact that it isn't, like she knows not to run it. But then it turns out that someone's taking control of the Daily Planet website and is posting all this stuff anyway.
Just pumping it all out. And I also have here that it shows Lois's journalistic integrity. On top of it, she's like, look, even if this stuff is true, until we can corroborate it, we're not running it. And, so that even shows that Waller is going even deeper than we previously thought.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, who could be doing this? Like, someone overnight is taking control of everything. Who's powerful enough for this? And that's the first time in the issue you see Amanda Waller. Is her in a room surrounded by screens. And obviously there's like this executive order style letter that you hear in the sort of the narration up until this point. And when it gets to the Amanda Waller reveal, you have her signing the letter saying, oh, superheroes have been operating with no, we have to have a plan of action, blah, blah, blah. It just kind of sets up the tone that she's finally making her move that she's been wanting to make forever. Even to the point where the next scene with Sergeant Steele, where he's like talking to her about what her plan is, and she's introducing him to the fact that, this is setting up for the main book if you've not been reading all the lead up stuff. She's got, Bride of Brainiac. You've got, obviously, Failsafe pops out. So if you haven't been reading any of the stuff leading up to this, Wade does a good job of making sure you're on board, you understand everything. But even Sergeant Steele's a little concerned about all this, even though he's a complete prick. And Failsafe questions why he's uneasy about it. And he's like, well, if she wants to achieve certain things, that's one thing. But if she's got a desire to do certain things, then it'll never be fulfilled. Like, she's going to, let's say she succeeds in doing everything she wants to do. She completely destabilizes all the superheroes. She takes complete power. She runs the world or the country as she sees fit. That desire is not going to be fed. It's just going to evolve and grow into,
more hunger,
more power, whatever it might be. And even he can recognize that that's maybe unattainable or unsustainable, perhaps is a better word. So, yeah.
This almost feels like the start of Terminator, right? Because she is reaching out to these machines. The Brainiac Queen, Failsafe. By the end of it, we have those Amazobots. It almost feels like the singularity is upon the DC universe. So it's almost like she's ushering in a dystopia. We know that she's doing that because that's the whole point. But she's ushering in this new thing that it's almost going to become too unwieldy, right? Because what do we always know from robot in AI and stuff is they start to determine that humans aren't capable of making decisions. So when does this turn on Waller?
Okay, it took me a while to get what you meant there. You just mean that she may inadvertently cause the robot apocalypse.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, you were saying everything after you said it's like the start of Terminator. I'm like, none of this sounds like the start of Terminator, Matt. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah. When the robots when they determine they don't need humans anymore, right? And Skynet launches the nukes and whatnot. But where does that end with Waller, right? Has she thought about that, all the way through? Or is this just a means to an end, right?
I mean, she thinks she has control. She thinks she has control of everything right now. Whether or not that remains true, what if that's where we go? Is that she loses control of these elements? Who knows? I don't know if that's where it's going now. We'll have to just wait and see where the story actually takes it. But Oracle's trying to figure out what's going on and behind all this. She can't. Cyborg's basically being zapped by all the stuff that's on the internet because he can't control it either. He doesn't know what's going on. Whatever this is has got defenses, not just firewalls, but active combative defenses against him trying to hack into it. So yeah, and we see heroes around the world all struggling. Justice League International, basically, I don't know if they're going by that right now, but that's basically that team are dealing with stuff. So, and then that's where it sort of wraps back up to the Superman bit at the start, where Superman falls out the sky after being shot, and Connor Kent and John find him, and they're panicking, like, oh, what do we do? We have to take him to a hospital or something. What do we do with him? And this is where we start getting these POV, and this is actually a lot more Terminator-esque, actually. It's these red POV shots of someone targeting the super family. And of course, this was teasing the books leading up to this, but what we find out is that this is all these Amazos that a Waller's had built, and this is how Superman took the bullet, or it's at least implied that's how he got shot, is that these Amazos are draining the heroes of their power, literally taking away their power, and there must have been one nearby that did so. So we see a lot of the other heroes around the world starting to struggle and losing their abilities. Amanda Waller comes on TV, makes an address to the world, if not maybe the nation, but I think it's the world, to be honest. And she's like, hey, I'm Amanda Waller. I'm here to help. You're all scared because of what these heroes have been doing. And, all of the metahumans won't have their powers anymore. If they have telepathy, they'll basically... It was the magic one was any people who use magic will forget how to cast magic. So, Hellblazer's what did I do with my hands?
He can't get out ahead of it, right? I like that because it's they're almost disrupting his thought patterns. Too.
Yeah, they've basically thought of a solution for every powered being on the planet that they want to depower. So yeah, there's a bit of build up, sort of teasing the Amazos, and then you finally see them. There's a big 2-page spread where you see a bunch of different Amazos in different parts of the world. One who's more Superman focused, who has the red and yellow. One that's more Wonder Woman looking. One that's more Green Lantern looking. The idea being that they're all designed specifically to drain certain types of hero. One's a speedster related Amazo, so on and so forth. So you see Dr. Fate struggle, everyone is being taken down. And I think what Wade does here really well to make it feel like a big deal is the realization from everyone, particularly Batman, that Waller's never been this forward about everything. And the only reason why that she would be acting this way is if she believes she's already won. And that's what makes it dangerous. It's not just that she's making this big move, is that she already thinks she's won it. And then, of course, the big... And this is so funny, having not read Green Arrow, just knowing that he's been talking to Waller just via hearing you talk about it. But Green Arrow's on Waller's side, and because all throughout the issue, the Justice Leaguers and the heroes have all been using this secret frequency that Waller doesn't know about. But then here towards the end, Green Arrow chimes in and says, no, she does know about this because I told her about it. And listen to me, that the day of the superhero is done. I'm on Team Waller now. We're coming for you, kind of thing.
It just doesn't gel with Ollie. I know that's been setting up throughout Green Arrow and whatever. I don't know. He's not the type that trusts government interference, right? And this is the ultimate government interference.
I mean, I don't think it's as clear as he's just switched sides, though. I feel like there's going to be more revealed about why he's doing this. For sure.
I just, with the voice there, and I trust Wade enough to doing it. But
in fact, I'll be honest, some of the dialogue was very specific. When Batman asks, where are you, Green Arrow? He says, I'm on the right side of history, pal. And I can't hear the word pal at the end of a sentence without hearing Vince McMahon's voice. So that's all I could hear when he said that.
You're not wrong. But but I do like also the whole Batman putting together, it's too late, right? It's kind of like in Watchmen, where he goes, what do you mean? Yeah, stop it. It happened 25 minutes ago.
He's basically saying at this point, all we can do is retreat and hopefully, figure out a plan to come back from this. I also like as well that, you know, like there's a panel of Waller shaking hands with Tharis, that, you know, from the Green Lantern stories, saying, hey, she's made a deal with like the space, you know, United Planets and the villains in space to quarantine Earth. So that whole blockade where no one's allowed in or out of Sector 2814 is actually on her, and it's part of this plan so that there's no cavalry, there's no like army of Green Lanterns or friendly aliens coming to help. She's isolated Earth.
She's, you know, they always say this thing, because you're right, Vince McMahon, with wrestling, that sometimes wrestlers just need to watch the show, right? Because they'll make foolish mistakes. If they were actually paying attention, you know, and they always joke that Kevin Owens is one of the wrestlers that watches the show. Like he'll use the Titantron, you know, to see if someone's trying to get the jump on him. Waller's the type that watches the show, right? She's the one that's seen all these events happen in the DC universe, and the Green Lanterns come in and swoop in and save the day, or Kryptonians or whatever from elsewhere. And so she's cut that off. You know, she seems to have everything. Like, this is a solid plan with no, you know, no gaps in any of it as of yet. So yeah, it feels very dire and bleak. Yeah, by the end of it.
It sets up the stakes. You know, the final lines from Green Arrow making the speech to Batman, and I don't know if the others can hear him, but certainly Batman can, is that, you know, the powers are gone and they're never coming back. You're thinking right now you've beat Amazos before, but that was the old rules. This is different. And, you know, the final panels of the book is John being dragged away from a bleeding out Superman, Wonder Woman being, you know, bloody and battered from fighting an Amazobot, and who is that in the last panel? Is that Aquaman?
I think so. Yeah, because he was shown there too, fighting the robots.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting though, this idea that your powers, all the powers are gone and they're not coming back. Obviously they're going to, because it's comic books, but it has made me go, oh, I wonder how it happens. Like, that's the hook here. It's like, okay, how do they get their powers back? Yeah. How do they fight out from under this? And part of that might be, you know, Batman might end up being quite central to this, because who in the DCU as a team are used to fighting without powers and can maybe save everyone else? It might be the Bat family who take the spearhead of that.
For sure. Too, here it shows that as part of her plan as well, Ollie brings up that they've shut off the time stream in the microverse as well, and it shows Ray Palmer. It shows that we read it in the special last time. It was that time guy, his little hourglass.
Time Commander.
He's at that too. Time Commander. So just the idea too that everything, you know, there isn't a Flash thing either.
Yeah. And also, just to say, you don't see Ray Palmer, you just see his outfit.
His outfit
on his finger.
So but yeah, and you have a couple other heroes that we see pop in, like the Doom Patrol. It looks like got totally messed up. And
there's no way I mentioned every hero we see in these panels getting either attacked by civilians or attacked by Amazos and losing their abilities and powers.
Yeah, but I think some of the ones that they are showing that Wade is taking time to are the ones that you wouldn't necessarily think of, right? So maybe those are the gaps that Waller's not thinking of, right? Because what is Robot Man's whole gimmick outside of being a human brain instead of a robot, right? She wouldn't think of him as a threat. But imagine him teaming up with Batman and the rest of the Bat family and all that other stuff.
I mean, I think if nothing else, it's just showing you how well thought out she's done this. She's not forgot. I mean, the Doom Patrol feels like the exact team of misfits that, like, in another version of this story, the Doom Patrol could easily be the team that the villain just never thought of, and they end up saving the day by like bringing all the other heroes back by like saving them all. Like, that could easily be the story, and you could easily buy that. Oh, Amanda Waller just didn't think of the Doom Patrol because of the weird misfit team that doesn't really get considered in the same way. But no, she's thought of them too. She's thought of Booster freaking Gold of all people. You know, she's accounted for seemingly everyone, and it does beg the question that, okay, will cavalry eventually come through the blockade? Perhaps. I mean, that's an obvious thing that could happen at some point, but I think on its own as an event, obviously some of the lead up material which was written by other people has been very hit and miss, but it never made me not look forward to the actual event, because once we actually get into the event, it's Wade, it's Moira, it's them crafting a story, and I feel like Mark Waid was one of the architects, if you will. Not that, I mean, that was more of a Marvel term, but back in the day, but he was one of the architects back in that 2000s era of DC universe moving forward, and I do wonder, because he ended up having to leave and there was a whole big time period where he wouldn't come back because of Didio and whatever else. I do think it's interesting now that he's finally getting a chance to drive an event as the spearhead and be the one kind of calling the shots, and having the other creators obviously help out by doing tie-ins and whatnot. But between, like, you know, Taylor doing the last event and Wade doing this event, I've not been as into the DC events in a while. There was that period before Beast World where it was a lot of Williamson doing events, and that was less good. I'll just say that. I'll be nice about it and just say it was less good. So
and it's also because you're talking about Wade back in the day, and he was one of the central minds at DC. This is also kind of reminiscent of the JLA story Tower of Babel, right? Where they used,
I can see the comparison, yeah.
Yeah, where I think it was Ross that used Batman's files on the JLA against them, right? So Wade has a knack for this kind of storytelling. So I'm very excited to see where it goes, especially it ends here, like you said, with Wonder Woman looking, you know, beat up, and the super family, you know, almost taken out of the picture, right? So yeah.
Yeah, although it is interesting to hear that Supergirl's off planet, because that could be important later if she fights her way back in and she hears what's going on. Maybe even some of the Green Lanterns as well, and that's just the obvious ones aside from whoever else might, you know, show up to help. But no, very, very interesting. I think what's fascinating, there's actually a couple of other pages to talk about as well.
There's like a post credit.
Yeah, there's a post credit because you get the next month and then there's a couple more pages. We'll talk about that in a minute, but. I think what's interesting about this is that this first issue doesn't really spoil what main characters we're actually going to follow in solving this problem, because this first issue is devoted entirely, as it should be, and this is not a complaint, to just the inciting incident. It's Amanda Waller launching her plan and everyone falling. But I'm excited to see in issue 2, okay, what 2 or 3 characters are we going to really focus on who start you know, fighting back or figuring out a plan or whatever the story course is going to be for the next few issues as we build up.
It's almost like Waller's the central character in this first issue, because we're following her acts, and not exactly her point of view, but we're getting all of that because we're just in the dark as the heroes are. Yeah, you know.
So, but now that they've been blindsided, how do we start to regroup? And you know, I don't know which characters we're going to focus on. Like I say, I expect Batman's probably one of them. But I mean, he, you know, it's Wade. He could really go any way he wants to with this. So yeah,
he's really set the stage here.
Yeah,
that's all.
The post-credit scene, if you will, it's like a POV shot via panels of someone waking up, and it's got that red robotic vision. It's worth mentioning, that Terminator vision. But when we get the full page after it, it's John Kent, and he says, "Who am I?" So it seems like they have like cyborged John Kent and turned him into a potential soldier for Waller, and I assume they're going to try and brainwash him into thinking that he belongs to her and that he's fighting on this side.
It's very reminiscent too, just what happened in House of Brainiac to Lex and Lena. You know, he's all plugged in, and we know that Brainiac Queen was, you know, that was how she was interfacing. So I'm wondering if this is, you know, how they are gonna, what the next phase is, right? It won't be Amazos, it'll be the fellow heroes, or they're gonna brainwash him and make him actually do the acts, right? Instead of just AI type stuff.
Yeah, maybe they'll actually have him publicly do some bad stuff for them. If not, just be one of their soldiers. Yeah, there's a lot of cables hooked up to him. I imagine it is probably Brainiac Queen who's doing a lot of this, you know, tech-wise. That just makes sense. I don't know. It's an interesting place to go with it. I don't know. But it may be quite, you know, if we do a story here where he's brainwashed potentially and doesn't know who he is, there could be a really uplifting moment later on when he finally kind of remembers who he is, kind of thing.
He is I'm John Kent, I'm Superman. Yeah. You know, and I submit to, you know, I don't submit to you.
But then again, it is an event. You know, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to kill someone off by the end of this.
Yeah. I'm not thinking about that. I like John. Like even
I do too.
Aging, we went up to the aging up. I don't want to think about it. Like,
he's don't get me wrong. If I'm killing a super family member off, it's Connor Kent. But
yeah. But see, maybe that was too easy. Maybe if it was Connor, we would see that and be like, oh, okay, well,
Or
that's a sacrifice.
let's hear me out, Matt.
Yeah, yeah.
For the third time in less than a year and a half, we kill Guy Gardner.
Okay. No, I'm okay. Hey, I'm gonna see my first live action Guy Gardner, so I'm fine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, did you see the set photos of his outfit?
I saw.
Yeah.
I saw the set photos of Philly and
worth mentioning that they seem to match like what I'm assuming is the movie's versions of the Terrifics, because they all have like, the same design in their outfits. So
the Terrifics or Max Lord, because it seems a very JLI style team. So I'm wondering if it's more like a corporate version.
The only reason why I'm thinking Terrifics is because one of the photos had like a blue screen, like big thing with a T-shaped hole in it. So I was thinking it's some sort of Mr. Terrific style ship or portal or something like that. But I mean, it could still just be his tech with in the context of JLI or something. But regardless, it was.
But if we had to watch Gardner die twice over the course of the year, but we get Philly in with the bowl cut, I'm okay with it.
Oh yeah, he looks punchable, and that's exactly what Guy Gardner should be.
Smarmy.
All right. No, I mean, I thought this was a great first issue of an event. It had everything you want from it, I think. It felt big. It felt the heroes are down in their lowest moment. Waller's play feels like it's something that it's almost shocking there's not been this storyline from Waller sometime before in the previous 30 years at DC Comics. But here we are, and maybe part of the reason why it's happening now is because it's more relevant than it's ever been, is her seizing power like this, the analogies and whatnot. But regardless, I think it is a natural big event to do as a Waller making this power play. I'll be curious to see when we wrap this all up where she is in the universe. Is she alive? She could die potentially. If she doesn't die, then is she in prison for doing this? Does she still get to run a Suicide Squad? Is she seen as a villain in the eyes of the government at the end of this arc? I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of possibilities.
She is put on the Suicide Squad. So she likes having a bomb in her neck. That said, so traditionally in Mezos, they only have the power of the superheroes. They don't have the power to drain.
Oh, that's new. Yeah, that's a new thing. Yeah.
How is she draining their powers, right? Because they're all different. Like to go after a Kryptonian, we know about Red Sun and all that Kryptonite, all this other stuff. But to be able to depower all these other ones too, I'm wondering what is she using to do that?
Well, right? They explain it a little bit with some of them, right? They explain it where, the magic users don't remember how to cast the spells. It does seem like there's slightly different solutions that are explained here. It shouldn't go into necessarily how different but I imagine a lot of the metahumans, it's probably just a case of neutering the metagene is probably the blanket thing. Obviously, how has Wonder Woman's abilities been taken? That's a bit more murky. Maybe we'll get more on that. Maybe we'll find out more about how these Amazos were built, what they've got unique to them. I'm trying to think if there's anything in the DCU that blanket just robs people of powers in the past that maybe might be incorporated into this, but nothing's springing to mind.
Nothing for me either, so that's why I'm wondering if this is just her diabolical plans coming to fruition after years, right? So.
But between like all the planning we've seen her do and these like various specials and backups, it just feels kind of nice. It feels nice to be finally at the event. It feels like things are big. This reminds me of the first issue of a Blackest Night or an Infinite Crisis or something of that era, and
something that's gonna really rock the status quo, because that's the thing. A lot of these events over the course of the last, at least since Rebirth started, haven't really rocked the status quo that much.
Yeah, I think that's what I think there'll be a new Justice League at the end of this book. Some a new team, a new roster's announced. I can see there'll be a new book announced.
Yeah, the fact that Batman said she's not even playing chess anymore also makes me think of Checkmate. Like maybe this establishes a new version of Checkmate that kind of keeps tabs and tries to balance things as well. So we'd have a Justice League, a Checkmate, all these other. I
mean, maybe it's even building to a Wade Justice League book. I don't know, but regardless, it does feel like there's probably going to be some big ramifications at the end of this. And obviously, Mora's art is pretty stunning throughout. This is a dream team for an event book.
So we brought up like Doom Patrol, but I feel like Wade just wanted to see Mora draw Doom Patrol again because they look so good in World's Finest, and so a lot of the art here, we get to see so many different characters that doesn't feel overwhelming.
Yeah,
Like,
actually, just mentioning Wade, because you made me think, oh, he likes Doom Patrol, and that's why we see them. As per usual with Wade, there was at least one character mentioned by Batman at one point that I just didn't recognize the name of, and I'm like, that's just Wade. He's deep pulling some character that I've never heard of. I've been reading DC Comics now for 20 years.
A while.
God,
don't put a number on it.
I'm old, Matt.
And I've been reading them longer than you have, so let's not. All right, I don't want to think about it.
But you know, Batman mentions a character when he's on the comms at one point. I'm trying to find the page. I can't find it. It doesn't really matter. But he mentions a couple of names, and like one of them I recognize, but the other one I was like, I have no idea who that other character is. I'll just take Wade's. I'll just trust Wade. So it's just Wade with his deep knowledge of the DCU, playing in the sandbox. But you know, with stakes. Like I've enjoyed his World Finest book. It's a fun book, but I think that it's maybe sometimes hampered a little bit by being this set in the past book where, like, ultimately it can never have super high stakes because it can never really alter anything dramatically. It can never change stuff. It just has to be a fun Batman Superman team up book. Here, it's like, oh no, he gets to shake things up. He gets to have consequences to things that might shape what the DCU is for at least a couple of years going forward. You know, obviously things always get reset, things get fixed, whatever. But you know, so no, I'm digging it. It feels like a mid 2000s DC event, and so to an extent, so did Beast World, and I really like that as well. So I'm glad some of these writers that I really like are getting to be the ones driving the events. So yeah.
What was the character Freddie Martin?
Oh, that sounds
I pulled Doc Magnus and Freddie Martin. So I just looked up. I don't see a Freddie Martin there. The one that comes up is the character Data. So that might just be it.
I mean, it's bolded, so I trust Wade knows who he's talking about. He's not just made up a name. There's a reason why it's there bolded. He knows who that is. Maybe it's Frederick Martin. I don't know. But regardless,
So it's one I've never heard of, and I just Googled, and not a lot came up. So it's definitely a Wade deep pull.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, on that last page with John hooked up to all the cables, you actually can see Brainiac Queen just off to the side in the background. She is there. Not that we needed it confirmed that it was her, because it looks like her tech, but yeah, she is there just on the side. All right, what are you rating Absolute Power issue 1?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
I'm going to give it a straight 9. I think that as far as an issue 1 in an event goes, I think this is exactly the big feel you want from it. Obviously, if you're the type of person who just never likes comic book events, I don't think it'll sway you, but I think this is a good issue 1 of an event. Now, are we going to like everywhere it goes? Is it going to stick the landings and whatnot? I trust that it's not going to be bad, because I don't think Wade would write a bad book, but, you know, is it going to be A-tier Wade? Is it going to be B-tier Wade? I mean, we'll find out, but so far, so good.